different things. I want to know if you saw Dark Side of the Ring. Obviously, it was the Chris Candido and Sunny episode. Did you see it, and what did you think about it? Obviously, you're in it, but did you actually
Uh-huh.
see the full episode?
I got to see the full episode this morning. I thought they did a great job. The first episode, and it was very honest. I felt from the beginning, and there wasn't too much piling on. There was a story told, and as sad and tragic as it was, I think the Chris Candido story was told very well. One of falling by the wayside and getting lost, and then having to go to Puerto Rico and having to do these things, and then the redemption part to come back and pass away. So I thought it was very cool, and one of the cool things about that happened has been happening throughout the day. I got a couple texts last night too, but I hadn't seen the show. I was teaching, so I watched it this morning, and I kept getting texts throughout the day from different people who'd seen it and thought it was very cool. So, and guys just checking in, see how it was. So that was kind of cool to reconnect with some people today too, over the dark side.
Tom Wenzel says, really enjoyed seeing Dr. Tom on the dark side.
Well, thank you, Tom. I had a good time doing it. That was done last year, and we man, it was a good sit down, and there was a lot of questions, a lot of things we went over, and you can only put so much in an hour show. And you had Jim Cornette, Lance Storm, Terry Reynolds, Mick Foley, and myself. So there was five people, and Johnny Candido, Chris's mom. She had seven people, and so I thought they combined everything, told the story that needed to be told, and I can't wait for the next episode. See to see what's going on with these next ones, because I think they have 10 new episodes this year,
Yep.
and yeah, all the ones I've seen so far have been great.
Hello, a gentleman, the king of Kingsport himself, Bo James.
Bob James.
Bob
So
himself, yes,
that's what I
yes.
said. Bo James, the King of Kingsport. Yeah.
Maddie R. with Dr. Tom being a top trainer and teacher, was there anything that Dr. Tom learned or took away from Chris Candido? Great question.
Well, I knew Chris in Smoky Mountain when he was just a kid, and he was like a lot of us when we started out. Loved the business, loved wrestling, loved everything about it. All he wanted to do was wrestle. Didn't want to get into the business part of it, the politics part of it, but that's inevitable. But all he really wanted to do is to ignore the rest and wrestle. And he was great in the gym. He was great to wrestle. He was great to wrestle with and along next. Um, but I took away his passion, because he was one of those guys who was very passionate about wrestling. His grandfather, Popeye Chuck Richards, wrestled, and as you saw last night, uh, he started a kids wrestling organization, and would get on the bus. Him and his friend get on the bus and tell their parents they were sleeping at each other's house, and then go down and wrestle and come back like it's a regular overnight sleepover. So I can appreciate that passion. I can appreciate the love of wrestling, and I remember what that was like as a kid. I remember what it was like growing up and being immersed, and nothing else mattered. And that's what I took away from Chris. He was a lot like myself, Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, Eddie Gilbert. The guys that I remember coming up that I would hear about, and knew they had this passion for wrestling. So,
Tom's got a question. Lance Storm said he was up to play Zip, but then later said he was grateful they passed on him. Yeah, what do you think
well,
about that? Did he want to play Zip? Was he ever supposed to play Zip?
no, no, that was a deal where uh, I made a flippant comment saying, "Look, if there's anything right now because the Heavenly Body deal was coming to an end, and I knew it, and we saw the writing on the wall, and I was unhappy. Jimmy was unhappy. We were unhappy about a lot of things, but I just said, look, if there's anything, I'll gladly take it. And then I got a phone call saying, would you like to dye your hair blonde, put it in a crew cut, and be a body knot? And I said, absolutely not. And they said, oh, okay, click. And I thought, oh, well, maybe, I could team with Chris and, I could probably ignore the rest. But no, I don't think Lance was ever really up for the spot. That was something that was on the fly. And I think Lance had already been part of the Foreigners, or no, that was not yet. That hadn't even come into existence
way later
yet.
on. Yeah,
that's right, way later. On, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think Lance was
the Un-Americans or whatever it was. Yeah,
the Un-Americans, yes, from Canada,
and then Team Canada in WCW. But yeah, he
and he should be grateful they passed on him because
I was going to say he got lucky. Yeah,
he got very lucky. Yeah, and I think, as I said last night, it sucked. It was a terrible time. Did not enjoy it one bit.
J Hood Radio. Speaking of tragic and dark side of the ring, how likely was it for Gino Hernandez to be a big time wrestler in NWA or WCW?
I think Gino enjoyed being in Dallas with the Von Erichs because he knew Gary Hart. He knew the Von Erichs very well, very close. But there's no doubt Gino Hernandez had the talent to go to the NWA or WCW. It's just he was very comfortable where he was, in my opinion, because I hadn't talked to Gino in years before he passed away. But just the impression I got was when the Midnight Express came in, I don't even think they got an angle with Von Erich. So Gino and Chris kept it. Chris Adams kept it tied up. So it was very likely that if Gino would have had to move on, he certainly would have got a spot in NWA or WCW. And if later on, WWF at that time.
Somebody was speculating, I don't remember who, they were saying, would he have been a good Four Horseman? I was thinking he kind of would, the way he carried himself, the way he dressed, the way he worked, maybe he could have been a horseman.
Well, no doubt. He was, when Flair would come to Houston or that area, Gino and Flair would always hang out and go to the clubs, go places. So, and he and Tully were fast friends. So, yeah, they would definitely be a match. He fit the mold.
Going back to Candido, when was the last time you saw Chris? What was the conversation about wrestling, life, sports?
Wow, I think I saw Chris the last time at a excuse me, a seminar for Mike Sparta up north, and but the last time I talked to him was Monday before he passed away. So, but no, we didn't. We just talked about what was going on that night and how things have been, and it was the usual banter, I guess. When you don't see somebody for years, and you come in contact or you see them at a show, it's you just pick up where you left off, or even if you didn't have a stopping point, you would start somewhere. And with Chris, it was always an easy conversation to start, always an easy conversation to follow and have fun with. And that was the main thing. The passion and having fun. And that was it.
Interesting follow-up here. Who has the video of you getting your head shaved as Zip? Your brother said it happened the day before in your house, December 1995 pay-per-view.
Well, it happened in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I know that. And I believe he has it in a hermetically sealed vault, waiting for the right time to reveal it, if ever. But I think he's keeping it secret.
That was another thing that Lance had mentioned. He's like, Dr. Tom had that long curly hair and they made him shave his head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You either say yay or nay. There was nothing. Weird time. It was a horrible time.
Hey, remember they made Greg Valentine dye his hair black? Remember with rhythm and blues? Remember how crazy that was?
Well, it's not like you had to cut it and put it in a crew cut and dye it black.
But he still did not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I know. But hey, listen, I could complain all day long, but I was just happy to be there. And I was very fortunate. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to team with Chris. I know it sounds cliche and like bullshit, but it's really not. The deal with Chris was I overlooked Tammy a lot of times until I just couldn't. And that was it. So we can't go back and change things. All we can do is make today and tomorrow better. If tomorrow comes, it ain't yesterday no more. Thank you, Bill James. That's a country song somewhere in there. It ain't yesterday no more. I think I invented that.
It's a great cliche.
Actually, Bo James invented it. Bo James wanted to turn me on to that, and that's true. It ain't yesterday no more.
Phil, what's going on? Hello, Phil.
Phil, very nice.
Phil the Thrill. Babs instead of Barbara today. It says, hi, Dr. Tom. Very nice to see you. Sorry I'm late. Wow, changing up the name there.
Well, okay. Well, Babs, Barbara.
Yep.
There is no need to apologize. Every week, sometimes we come on early, sometimes we come on late. So, but it's okay. Glad you're here.
Mitch Miller, double M. The power bomb from the top rope is a great finisher. What did Chris call it again? The blonde
bombshell. Bomber?
Or is it bombshell? Blonde bombshell? Yeah.
Bombshell. Yep.
Yeah.
And I took that in ECW arena. They had a clip of that last night too.
Yes.
I asked him how the ring was for bumping. He said it's great. It's a great bumping ring, and I thought it was a rib, but no, it was a good ring. And if you do it all the time, you're gonna feel it. But that night it was perfect. Blonde bombshell.
When you look at that move, it looks like everything's got to go right. This could be a little dangerous. Do you think it's dangerous at all, or it's completely safe?
Of course, it's dangerous. Yeah, man. It's you got to get your body up and make sure you land flat on your back, or else you're going to get hurt. They don't call it high risk maneuver for nothing. You're in the high rent district, pal. Yeah, no, it's it could be dangerous if you don't know how to take it and don't know how to bump, but that's on you, and that's on the guy giving it to you too. So you got to trust the guy you're working with, and I trust Chris explicitly.
When you look at that move, I mean, that is like super dangerous because a normal power bomb, you got to gut wrench the guy, get him up. I mean, it's tough, but you're doing it off the rope. You got to balance and then quickly do it. And the guy quickly has to make sure gets his neck up.
Yeah, it's a trust issue, and I knew Chris could flip me, but I have to be able to flip myself too and get up so I land flat on my back and not kill myself. So, but I trusted Chris, and it was great.
Mitch says, I haven't watched the episode yet, but definitely on my playlist. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I feel like Dark Side of the Ring maybe hitting the stride again. They, for a little bit, they were getting into some trouble there, but it seems like they're past that, and they're hopefully hitting their stride again with some good episodes because you got Magnum TA next week.
Right. They have a few good ones this week, this round, this volume of Dark Side of the Ring. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it's an all-summer. How many episodes? 10?
10. Yep.
Okay, so there's 10 good episodes every week. So I can't wait.
Ibsen, how bad was his neck? Meaning Chris's neck when you guys had a 4-team elimination match at SummerSlam '96 in Cleveland. Do you remember how bad his neck was?
Well, I remember when he broke it in Madison Square Garden and just came back and said, I hurt my neck. And then Tammy took him to the hospital that night and couldn't find out he broke it. Now, at that time, you didn't sell stuff. I mean, if it hurt, yeah, okay, it hurt. But Chris was going to show you how tough he was. Plus, I think, and as I talked about on the episode, the somas help take away the pain. But I don't care who you are with a broken neck, even a hairline fracture. I mean, I've never broken my neck, but anybody who's been around for a long time or for over 10 years is going to have neck problems. It's just part of it. And so I think his neck was pretty bad. He just didn't want to put it over because he loved wrestling so much. And he would come to the ring with a collar on sometimes to and work like that until they told him to stop going to the ring with the collar on. But I think his neck was hurting him pretty bad. And in the end, he just did what he had to do to get to the ring and did what he had to do to get through the match.
With that, is there anything that you could add to Chris that would help him basically when he was going in his career? Would it be promos, believability, something else? What would you help him on?
I think just with the distractions outside. And by that, I mean, you have to. Once he went to ECW, I think he was better. And at the same time, I think he got worse. And I think sometimes everybody gets distracted. And it's not easy to make those distractions disappear, or at least alleviate some of that stuff. But his promos, shoo, his believability, incredible. I don't think that was the issue. I just think that Chris, being Chris, all he wanted to do was wrestle. He didn't want to play any head games and have to deal with all this stuff. He just wanted to go out there and perform, and he enjoyed the business. He loved the business. He loved being around the boys. He loved being around the scene and the action. And we all did. And I think just not having someone or somebody around to never give him peace. And that was what the relationship with Tammy was. There was never peace. There was never that moment that I saw. I never saw it. I never saw where you could see she genuinely cared about it. Maybe she did. I can't speak for her. I really can't. I know he cared for her. He cared about her, but I just never saw it reciprocated. I never saw her give back. It was always take, 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 take. And that would be what I think he needed help, and have somebody there who cared about him, cared about his well-being, not just their own well-being.
Tammy was such a pretty girl in her time, and it's so sad that she has the addiction issues. Is there any way she can get help?
Well, I had said this years ago when she was getting her DUIs. You have to want help. It has to come to you. And you have to accept it, and you have to actually want it. There's a creed, there's a saying that there are some poor unfortunate souls who just can't be saved, and I think Tammy's one of them. Because if you go to a 12-step program, or you know what the 12 steps are, then it's really up to you. But it's a program that you have to work, and you have to want to work it. Can she get help? Yes. The question is, can she receive help and use it? Unfortunately, for some people, it ends up at the point she's at. She's sitting in jail after killing someone in a car, after all the DUIs. She didn't have a license. And, I hate it for her. I hate it for the family of the man who got killed. I hate it for everybody all around. It's not a good situation to be in. It's nothing to gloat about. It's nothing to brag about. It's nothing to condemn someone. Well, actually, yeah, it is. It is something to condemn someone for. It really is. You don't have to beat them over the head with a baseball bat, but some people get the hint and some people don't. if you're going to go to rehab or you're going to go to jail, I think they'll offer her counseling or a 12-step program. I don't know. I don't know her situation really right now. Not privy to that. But there is ways to get help. There are ways to get help. And if this is what it takes to get it together, okay. I just don't know that she doesn't. She doesn't. I do know that she doesn't need to be out in society. Not now. She needs some time to really let this marinate all over her soul to know what she's done. And it's not just now. It's we can look back. We can all review our lives, but you can't change anything. So you have to change. You can't change yesterday is what I'm trying to say, I guess, but you can change what you're going to do today. And this is all we have is right now. And I think Tammy's starting to figure that out. At least I hope she is. Maybe she is going to get her life together. I don't think, well, I'm going to say I don't think you can do drugs in jail, but I think that's probably where you do drugs is in jail. Don't know. Haven't been in jail. At least not any length of time. Let me say that.
Yes. From Phil the Thrill. Chris and Tammy were the first two I saw when I by chance turned on Channel 27 at 1 a.m. Friday night, coming out to AC/DC's Back in Black. His was his first ECW show. Another synchronicity be thrown out there.
Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I could see that at 1 o'clock in the morning, on a Friday night or Saturday morning, and here come these two good-looking young kids. That would capture your attention because they had charisma, and Chris did have charisma. Chris understood how to work, and Tammy just was that cute little girl, and so I get it. I mean, ECW was pretty revolutionary when they came out, and they had a bunch of misfits who captured people's imagination and used the rock videos and all the cool stuff that you guys got to see on the East Coast. And then when it came around and in various parts of the country that have TV, the rest of the guys would get a shot and seeing what was going on out there. So Tammy and Chris were the perfect couple for ECW to promote as good-looking people, and something if you were switching channels, you would come across that. And especially if you heard Back in Black, I know I would stop and say, "What is this?" And then I would check out the action because ECW Arena had electricity. It had a karma, man. It did have feeling to it. It has something there. You've been to the ECW Arena, I'm sure.
Oh, bunch of times.
Yeah. And the few times I went, you knew there was something special going on there. The vibe in the air and all that cool stuff. So
great crowd.
Yep. Great crowd. They let you know it too, if they liked you or they didn't. And so, and I think they appreciated people who worked hard. And Chris worked his ass off, and Tammy was Tammy.
From Scorch, Dr. Tom, what was it like to tag with Chris Candido, who was a generation younger than you?
Well, I won't say that one. No, Chris was great. I knew Chris from Smoky Mountain, and I knew he was very passionate about wrestling. He loved Terry Funk. I love Terry Funk. He had that mentality, and he watched wrestling all the time. It was great teaming with Chris. It really was, and that's one reason why I even entertained the idea of shaving my head and putting in a crew cut. I never had a crew cut in my life, and I'd worn long hair for the better part of my career, and I could hide behind it, cover my face. Didn't have to look at people. Now it's way above my head, and my ears are showing, and I'm totally exposed. But no, I love teaming with Chris.
Did it feel like he was that much younger than you?
No, he felt like he was a young veteran who was very old school. So it didn't really feel like he was that much younger than me. He was just that much more talented than me. He could do a lot more stuff than I could, and he was very respectful of all the veterans and the people who came before him. Uh, but he knew how good he was, and he was great, and I knew it. But no, he didn't feel like that much younger than me. He was, and I respected that. I respected everything he did because he enjoyed doing it. He wanted to get up there and do the cool stuff. He wanted to give you that blonde bombshell. He wanted to take the blonde bombshell. He wanted to have the chair around his neck. We're swinging, or the body language and the baby bonnet that his mom was talking about last night. She had no idea it was a gimmick match, and she didn't understand wrestling, which is
Yes.
fine. It wasn't her thing. It was her son's thing, and she was respectful enough to say, "Okay, follow your dreams," and he did. That's why I like Chris, because he did follow his dreams, and he did have respect for the business. He had respect for the people who came before him, and he really loved wrestling.
Barbara, I really enjoy Dr. Tom on Dark Side of the Ring. He seems to be the voice of reason and the adult in the room.
Oh my God! I don't know if I was the adult in the room, but well, thank you, Barb or Babs. Thank you very much. I thought they did a really good job.
Matty R., who would Dr. Tom say Candido worked the best with in the ring? Did Chris have a favorite opponent to work against?
Uh, Anybody Chris worked with was the best in the ring at that time. He elevated people. I think Chris enjoyed working with Terry Funk the most, especially as a veteran, and I can understand that. And Chris could hold his own against Terry, and I think Terry enjoyed working with Chris too. He told me one time he and Terry went to not it wasn't Dick's Sporting Goods, or maybe it was, and they bought all the long tights that Terry used to wear. If you notice, Chris wore them too.
Yes.
They went and bought them all and just cleaned them out. So
I love it. Yeah, I love
yeah,
those.
yeah, and Terry respected him too as a young, hardworking kid. Who had it was years ahead of his time, I think.
Always like Candido and Lance Storm when they had their matches. Great chemistry together.
Yeah, yeah, he and Lance did have great chemistry, and I think anybody Chris stepped in the ring with, he was determined to have a great match with him, and he did. More times than not, he did. He stole the show.
Hannibal, great job on the episode of Dark Side of the Ring, Dr. Tom. Everybody's loving you on the episode.
Well, thank you, Hannibal. I appreciate it, man. That's those dark side guys that know how to edit that stuff. So I think there was we filmed for about 3 hours.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was a long time. It was a long time.
From Dell Mountain, Dr. Tom, I've gotten some good insight into Chris Candido's life by watching his brother Johnny Candido's videos. Johnny did not like Tammy at all, and he hated all the grief she caused Chris.
Right. It was distractions, the grief, the nastiness. And I don't want to pile on Tammy. I don't. I've done it many years and I get all that. But she's where she belongs right now. And I hate the fact that she put him through all the grief too. But I don't know how different it would have been without her, because it was a dynamic there that made people uncomfortable around him. Let me say this: it made me uncomfortable when I was around him, and I think because I could relate to it and I can understand it. And when I saw this guy who had so much talent dealing with so much bullshit in his life, I think that drew me to him even more when we were a team, because I could see the look in his eye when he's got other things on his mind besides the match, and still go out there and just kill it and have a great match. Um, that's he was able to at least put it aside, go to the ring, be a pro, and then come back and try and make things work with Tammy, and try and make things work no matter what she was upset about. And she was just pick something to be upset about. Um, hey, the water in the dressing room is too cold. Fix it. What? You didn't just say that, did you? You know what I mean? That kind of trivial.
Yep.
Hey, I stepped on some popcorn. Get it off my shoe.
Oh.
Well, I'm not saying she said that, but it was the trivial things
Yes,
like
I got
that.
you.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Not good.
not good. It was making I picked up on these things, starting a fight to start a fight about nothing. Why did you throw your gum wrapper on the floor? I don't like gum wrappers on the floor. Well, really?
Yeah.
Well, how about this? Why don't you pick it up? So
Tammy wasn't a trained wrestler, but had so much charisma. Is that what Jim Cornette saw in her? Did he see that she could be a great heel?
yeah, she did have charisma, and she was a cute girl. And you do need to have an ego. You must believe in yourself. And I think Mick said it last night. Having an ego, well, that's not the worst thing in the business, or something. Whatever he said, but that wasn't the thing. It wasn't always. It wasn't just the ego. It was
Attitude.
everything else, huh?
The attitude, not just
The
ego.
the attitude, but the actions. I mean, yeah, yeah. And I said it last night too, so I can say it again. While Chris was in the ring, she's in the back with whoever she's in the back with. And then as soon as you come back from the ring, she's not even really trying to hide it. So when people ask, did he know? How could you not know? Did he know? Pardon me. Did he ignore it because he loved her? Possibility. But anyway, there's no way to live your life.
Mitch says Tammy always had a brick in her purse or hairspray to the eyes.
Yeah.
Very heel-like.
Well, that was she was definitely a heel.
Magazine retriever. Dr. Tom, I find it amusing that when a male pro wrestler's wife and kids get his kayfabe last name, even when they aren't even in the business, the power of kayfabe.
Well, that was a lot of times. Just that was the way it is. So everybody kind of knew who was who, and we call each other by kayfabe names more so than not, because that's just the way it is sometimes, and sometimes the wives do the same thing. So, but I mean, it can be amusing. Robert Fuller's wife was Sylvia Fuller, not Sylvia Welch, although she used Sylvia Welch when she had to. Most people knew her as Sylvia Fuller, because it was a kayfabe name. And we're in a show business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great line here by Phil. He said that he loved that Candido's humorous side. He would call them doing the curly shuffle, a la Dick Murdoch and Terry Funk spots, doing some comedy mixing.
Yeah. So I said he loved Terry, loved Dick Murdoch. He loved that style of wrestling where they could be credible, but they could be humorous, they could be entertaining. And Chris knew how to do it all. I mean, Chris was way more talented and than people saw, for the most part. Well, than anybody saw in WWE. He was way more talented. Once he left and got to go back to the ECW, and eventually TNA, I think his talent was shown, and he was thriving then. So, and I don't think anybody would deny or argue that Dick Murdoch and Terry Funk were top guys who could be entertaining, and they could be wrestlers, and they could be rough when they had to, but they also had that entertaining side.
Barbara, please ask Dr. Tom if Chris would be a top guy today, like Cornette mentioned.
Definitely. I certainly believe that. And even before he stopped wrestling in 96, I think it was, it might have been 97. Around that time when I started training guys, Chris helped train some guys too, and he would have been a great player coach. He really would. And I certainly believe that Chris would be a top guy today.
Mitch, in the early years, they seemed to be more of a quarterback cheerleader couple, meaning Candido and Sunny. I could see that.
I could see that too. I really could. I just,
Prom king and queen.
Right. Sunny just had the larger performer's ego. She had ambition, no doubt. That's not a crime. It's the fact that her approach and the way she did it rubbed people the wrong way, I guess. And she didn't always treat everybody nice. Didn't have to. Not a problem. She wasn't the only one who wasn't treating people nice, but she was the one in my instance as a team that I had to deal with and put up with until I finally said, yeah, I'm not going to deal with it and put up with it. I'll deal with it my way. And that just ended everything. I think once Chris broke his neck, we saw the writing on the wall there too. And the training gig came along, and I was happy for that. But I was happy for Chris too, being able to get out and go do something else he really liked doing, like ECW.
Yeah, became a star in ECW for sure.
Yep.
Phil, great point here. I'm no doctor, but I believe Tammy suffered from a narcissistic personality disorder. It's truly a horrible psychological condition, similar to other people who have it.
I completely agree, Phil. She did have she was certainly a narcissist, and I've known a lot of narcissists through the years, and they can be some pretty dangerous people because they don't care about anybody but themselves. It's all about them. And I truly believe she does. She has some issues. She has got a lot of issues. And people did try to help her. I don't know how many times she's been to rehab, but after 6, you would think,
yep,
you would get the hint, you would get the message that maybe, just maybe, every time you cried and got in trouble and WWE would send you to rehab, it wouldn't take, and you'd go back and do the same thing over and over and over. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. I don't know that she expected a different result. I don't know that she even cared. But being a narcissist makes perfect sense because she was and she is.
I know a guy like that. Oh my God. Definitely narcissistic personality.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know so many people like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It seems that Tammy was a little too friendly, quote unquote, with some of the other wrestlers. Does that make to the other wrestlers? How do they approach such a thing? I guess meaning is that on the wrestlers? Is that on her?
Well, I think it's on both, but when you're the most downloaded woman on the internet, when everything's just coming yes. new, and she was young, and boy, the most downloaded personality on AOL, and you're around some testosterone filled locker rooms, and guys are looking, and she knows they're looking, and she's looking too, and they're giving her all the attention. It falls on both guys. The guys and her. I mean, she's young. She's getting all this attention. What are you going to do? I mean, Chris wasn't macho where he would lock her up and keep her away from everybody. So, and he couldn't do that anyway because she was so headstrong. But But that's like saying, you're married and you love your wife or you love your husband, but yet you cheat. Well, how does that work? I mean, if you truly love somebody, you're going to be loyal to them. There is nothing else. There is nothing else. You either are or you aren't, and that'll tell you right there. You either love them, and you're going to be faithful and loyal, especially in this business. Kind of hard, but again, they were thrown in as kids. Tough spot to be in. Tough spot to be in.
Scorch. I remember when Jim Cornette saying that he had considerably more respect for Sunny than he had for Sable.
Well, well, he might have said that at one time, and he might still mean it, but I don't think he feels that way now. Could be wrong, but I don't think he does.
Road War Animal said that Candido was high in the ring and almost got stabbed in the face with spikes on the shoulder pads. I don't remember when and where that would have been, but that's interesting.
He was talking about Sunny. Sonny was high in the ring and almost got stabbed in the face and the shoulder spikes on the shoulder pads.
Oh, it's he. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was she, not
I was
he.
going to say, I don't know where LOD and Chris came. Yeah, okay. She was so high. Okay.
Yeah, she was managing LOD, and I think that was in the garden. Yeah, I think, if I recall.
That was a weird pairing, her and LOD when they were doing LOD 2000.
Man, you know what? That's what I'm saying. No matter what she did or where she went, she always wound up with these
good spots.
Pairings that you would go, how did that work? And why is this going on? But then you just had to look at what was happening behind the scenes, and it all made sense.
I remember being in high school when she was coming up. Everybody that was like their favorite was Sunny, pretty much. So she was pretty popular for sure, but obviously,
pretty face don't make no pretty heart. And I tell you what, man, this is for all the beautiful girls out there, and I've seen a lot of beautiful girls. Once you get to know them personally, and once you're around them for 2 weeks, and their personality comes out, all that beautiful flesh is pretty much as ugly as it gets. So,
Mitch, was there any real heat in the locker room between the Clique and Chris? And obviously, she was seen often with Shawn Michaels, meaning Sunny. So, was there heat between Clique?
Yeah, they didn't like Chris too much. He loved the business, and he was very anxious to go out there and wrestle every night. And his girlfriend is in there schlepping Shawn. So, and whoever else, I don't know. And I can say Shawn because they both admitted to it, or I know she's admitted to it. Everybody knew it. But yeah, there was heat. Nobody, that was during a time when, God, the Clique was a real thing, man. It really was. And didn't make it good for a lot of people. I mean, Chris was one of them.
A Robert Palmer lyric. Nice, Dr. Tom.
Yes. Pretty face don't make no pretty heart.
Nice.
Yeah.
From Dell, Chris Candido wrestled during an era when smaller guys weren't given a chance to shine. I often wonder if smaller wrestlers would have been appreciated earlier. Maybe Chris Von Erich would have thrived. Wow, interesting.
I don't know about Chris Von Erich, but I do know Candido worked out hard, busted his ass, and he knew how to work. It was a different era, different time, but Chris was one of the guys that paved the way because he would be able to compete with smaller guys today. I mean, he would be able to do some of the cool stuff. And it'd be one of those things where he would be having these matches that people are talking about, the Kenny Omegas, the Will Ospreys, things like that. He would be able to do that stuff. And it would be with the same passion and the Terry Funk, Dick Murdoch style. and that would make him different because he would sell it in a way that if he was alive today, I think he would sell it different in a way that people would get into it and understand that he's special, because he was a special guy when he was wrestling.
I learned it from the start. LOL, says Phil. Obviously, a little Robert Palmer going on right now.
Yeah, I learned that, buddy, from the start, is what it says. Yes.
Did she have an affair with the Sandman? Wasn't he on last night? He was not on last night, but I'd never heard having an affair with the Sandman. Never heard that before.
I've never heard that before either. I've heard some pretty crazy names, but I haven't heard his Sandman.
Would you like to talk about some of those crazy names?
No, I really wouldn't, because I think they're still living and they're both married.
Okay, Jason, some of the Smoking Mountain interviews with Chris and Tammy seem to mirror what was going on in their real life. She was a constant pain in the ass to him.
Yeah, she really was. I mean, and that was real. That was what you saw on TV, was her just amplified, and she didn't really turn down the notches too much when she got back in the back. It was always about Tammy all night long. So yeah, she was authentic, that's for sure, and that's what you have to have. And she had gravitas. She did get to the point where she was the most downloaded celebrity on AOL, and she did believe in herself, and she was on these magazine covers and photo shoots, and offered Playboy, but she didn't want to do Playboy then. You know, her dad was still alive, I think, and but she was constantly berating and bitching at Chris. So that was a real deal.
Now, obviously, everybody needs to go back and watch that Dark Side of the Ring with Sunny and Chris. One last question before we wrap this one up. How bad was the slop bucket that she got last night? How bad was that when she got slopped?
Well, I do remember when they asked me about that, and thank God they didn't put it in. But there was a line, and there was, I think Cornette said there was probably 20 different DNA in that bucket. I think there was more than that.
Oh my God.
Wasn't a big bucket, but everybody made sure to contribute.
Wow. Damn. So she was not well liked at all there. That's crazy.
You know, and I thought about that, how horrible that must have been. But that was what she brought out of the crew. I mean, for real. She just was not a pleasant person to be around. With certain people, she was nice and she could get along, but even they got sick of her, because even they added to the bucket, and they added to her meals over in Europe and things like this. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's civilized. I'm not saying it's something you should do in polite society. What I'm saying is, she didn't care. She was going to tell you what a star she was, and she was going to be a bitch no matter what. I feel bad for her. At the same time, she brought it on herself. And she does have a narcissistic disorder, and I don't think that's ever going to leave her. I hope it does, but I also hope she gets help and pays for what she's done.
Well said. Barbara, Dr. Tom, where can they get the book? A must for future champions.
Well, you can get that book at jpwrestlingacademy.com. Click on the training folder up on thank you so much. Yeah, click on the training tab. It'll come right up on the front page, and check it out. That's jpwrestlingacademy.com. We have our next summer session coming up on July 3rd, too. So if you're looking to train, come to Knoxville, Tennessee. Actually, it's La Follette, Tennessee, at the SPCW Arena. So jpwrestlingacademy.com has all the information. Thank you, Jason. Look forward to talking to you guys next week.
By the way, does the book ship to Canada?
It does, but here's what I have found. I had somebody who sent me something from Norway. It cost $32 to ship it to Norway, which is more than the book cost. So I'm now you can order it on Amazon. They'll ship it to Canada. Never mind.
Canada won't be that crazy.
No, Canada won't be that bad. But yes, you can order it on Amazon, and it will ship to Canada.
Nice. So you could follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Of course, check out Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees, ProWrestlingTees.com. Check out the JPWA store or the Dr. Tom store. Dr. Tom, good luck this weekend with the NWA.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it, man. If you guys get a chance, check it out on Fight TV. If you're in the Winston-Salem area, come on out and see the NWA live and in living color, man. It's a lot of great action.
Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. Be right back here next week for a little Taking to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.